Hey guys, this is for all of the people that want to give up on God or want to believe that there is no God. If all these bad things can happen to you, how could there be a God, right? I'm going to share with you my 2022. 2022 was my Job year. It was the worst year of my life. On Mother's Day in 2022, I lost my mother to renal failure, which led to heart failure. Her kidneys failed. For the lay person that doesn't know what that means, is her kidneys stopped working, therefore her heart stopped working. She had been out so long that she was brain dead by the time EMS arrived. EMS was able to revive her and get her to the emergency room. However, once she was there, she was on life support and the machine was breathing for her. She couldn't breathe on her own. So by the time I got the phone call, and I'm going to try to be strong and not cry. But like I said, this whole year was my Job year. By the time I got the phone call from the hospital, from the emergency room, they were basically calling me because they needed permission for me to take her off of life support. And I had to grant that permission in person. So I had to leave where I was living to go. So I told my supervisor at the time, hey, I just got a call from the hospital, this hospital in Georgia. I have to go back home. My mother's on life support. So I get there and she is on whatever a breathing machine is. I don't remember the name of it in this moment, but I do know what it's called, however. And it'll come to me once I finish filming this video, of course. So basically, I was needed, my presence was needed to give them permission to take her off. So I went there and I saw her and I FaceTime with my son so he could see her. And shortly after that, I went ahead and gave them permission to, because she was brain dead, and even if she was able to start breathing on her own, she didn't have any brain function. It was a wrap. So I had to let go of my mother on Mother's Day in 2022. Father's Day, I was in a car accident. After church, of all things, leaving church on Father's Day in a car accident. 4th of July, my son's car, the engine locks up on my son's car. Now this has happened May, June, July. If you notice these months, this is all happening back to back to back. My son had something repaired on his car and we had paid the mechanic and everything. And apparently he had put some gaskets in backwards and the oil wasn't going into the engine. My son is 20 minutes up the road after we have paid this man X amount of dollars to get this car fixed, and the car shuts off. And so he calls me, I go to the side of the road to get the car towed, get it towed back home. And ultimately the engine had locked up. It was no good anymore. So, and this happened again on the 4th of July, or the 4th of July weekend, right after we had paid someone to fix the car. So now we are around Thanksgiving. And I don't know, everybody's calling me from my hometown and they're like, hey, are you coming home? Are you coming home for the holidays? I'm not really realizing why everybody's calling me, because initially I didn't plan on going home for the holidays, but everybody was concerned about my well-being after my mother passing and me going into the holidays for the first time without her. And it was a legit concern and I appreciate it. So I do go home for the holiday. I don't go for Christmas, but I go for Thanksgiving, and then New Year's comes around, and now it is May again in 2023, and I hear from a long time. I guess he was the man in my life. From 2016 to 2019, we broke up, and then we were kind of off and on. I was like, well, if you don't really see us getting married or going to the next level, I guess it's time for us to break up, kind of thing. So I broke up with him. He came back to me, and we were kind of off and on for 3 years after I realized that he just, every time we get back together, I realized it was just more of the same thing. He would be good at first, and then he would revert back to old behaviors. And that is a lesson in and of itself, ladies, that we'll talk about on a whole nother video. But going back to 2022 being my Job year. So on the anniversary of my mother's 1-year anniversary of her death, I am leaving church, and I get a call from this man, and he says, can we go to lunch? We sit down and we talk, and this man tells me that he was married 6 months prior, in 2022, to another woman. It is what it is, right? So in 2022, the person that I loved more than anything, my mother, she passes away. The man that I love more than any man that I've loved in my life married another woman. My son, the engine locks up in my son's car, and I wreck my own car. A lot happened. Needless to say, I felt overwhelmed. I felt like giving up. I did not know how to continue on, or how I would continue on, or what the purpose for continuing on was. I was done. I was done. I was out. I was out of gas, out of the thought process of continuing. All of my friends, when I found out that the love of my life had married someone else, all of my friends was like, you're strong, you can handle it. They were just all very passive about it. And they just didn't realize the snowball effect. That one last thing, that one last piece of news, that one last idea in my mind that I wasn't good enough for marriage was in my head. And they just all kind of was like, oh, well, you're so strong, you'll be okay. Whatever, it's okay. Oh, he married somebody? Good, well, whatever. It was a very whatever moment for them, but a very trying moment for myself. And I didn't want to continue. I was out. So I had to get counseling because I couldn't turn to my friends and my family, because everybody felt like I was so strong that I should be able to handle this as well too, right? Because I'm the person that they come to when they have problems or when they're dealing with things, and I always have a solution for them. Nobody had a solution for me. So I had to get counseling to get myself back together, because I did get to a point where I didn't want to do this anymore. This thing called life, this thing called trusting God, this thing called believing in God, this thing called anything. I didn't want to do it. So I went through my counseling. I got myself back together, and I realized the way to deal with this and the way to handle it is every day you've got to wake up and find something to be thankful for. Even when it doesn't look like there's anything to be thankful for, you've got to find something, even if it's the fact that you can roll over by yourself, even if it's the fact that there's no pain in your right hip today, even if it's the fact that you have a car to drive. I don't care what it is. I'm sorry, my nose is running, and I didn't mean, I was trying so hard to be strong, but it's still happening. I should have brought a tissue. Anyway, you have to find something to be thankful for. That's the only way I was able to get out of the bed and get up and go to work. You have to continue moving because life is for the living. It doesn't mean that you don't love the people that you've lost. And it doesn't mean that you're not grieving. But at the same time, you as a person that is still living, you have to continue to live. You have to find your strength, and you have to know that God is God, and He's there with you in it. For me, I would wake up in the mornings, and I hope my son didn't hear me, but I couldn't control it. But I would cry and cry and cry in the shower. And that was the time I would give myself to cry. And once I would get up off that tub basin floor, or whatever you call it, once I stood up in the tub basin, I would wash my face, wash my body, and get out and get ready for the world. Because life is for the living. So for anybody out there that feels like they can't go on anymore, they don't want to go on anymore, or they're having their Job year, find something to be thankful for. Cry for the time that you need to cry for, but get up and get at it and get moving. Because at the end of the day, to be happy, healthy, and whole, we have to move. We have to overcome, and we have to push through.